What's up, humans, chicken nuggets, humanoids, angels, everybody else? I'm gonna hopefully this isn't bouncing too much too. I've got it on the table, but it's a little bit bouncy. I want to do a little first pass. And I don't know if I should even do these together, but I've been looking into some of this stuff for the last couple of days, and the Chiron, which is the wounded healer, has because it's a little bit irregular, it's elliptical, it has between 48 to 52 years. Usually, let's call it 50. We'll call it 50. That's the wounded. I'm gonna make this thing all fucked up. The wounded healer cycle, the beginning of wisdom. Often in our 40s and our 50s. And I just thought about this. I was talking about this a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was in a short or if I even posted anything about it, but oh yeah, if you feel like you're late, to the game, and you're in your 40s, your 50s, or whatever, most people don't really get going until they're like at least 45 or 50, 55, 60 sometimes. We need to have amassed some worldly wisdom and relationships and wealth a lot of times, or like connections to resources in order to be able to do things. It's just the way that it goes. But seeing how these things line up astrologically is very interesting. Each of the Chiron, you could say it's divided into quarters, and there's a Jupiter return through each one. Maybe I should have drawn these out, but Jupiter cycle is 12 years. And that's the luckiest. It's the planet of beneficence, of expansion, etc. Chiron is 50 years. So this is like, I'm seeing a lot of my shit this year, and stuff that I wish I would have been a little bit more in the healing process and done with a year ago, last June, July, etc. Because now Jupiter's going into Leo, and it's like, it's luck time, expansion time to be seen on the world stage and all that sort of shit. But anyways, it's kind of interesting, because my Chiron return. So what's happening there? My Chiron is in Taurus, and I know now astrologically how so much this shit lines up. Is my core wounding, is the people involved in my core wounding, much of it. Sorry, I hope this thing isn't fucking bouncing when I think it's got a stabilizer in there. Core wounding and healing. A lot of which is through my daughter. My daughter's a Taurus, and Jupiter return, healing and stuff. A lot of this stuff should have been done a year ago, but the opportunity to bring a lot of this stuff full circle and go into a new phase, a new 12-year cycle, a new Chiron cycle, understanding, like, with so much depth, with so much fucking depth and wisdom now, and because of astrology especially, how all this stuff fits into my evolution, to the evolution of my soul, and what I'm here to do. I'm gonna cut this out because I think I need to have some notes about what I'm gonna actually talk about for this, because this is where I'm at right now. I'll be 48 this summer, and the shit's just crazy. But I think each piece of the Chiron puzzle, it goes in 12-year chunks. So each quarter of the Chiron thing before your first Chiron return is like a 12-year thing. And so just when I've been looking at this in the last week, and it's like I can see really clearly what was going on in each piece of my wounding and my healing that was happening when I was like 12, 13, around 24 approximately, when I was getting into and kind of out of rehab situations and recovery situations for the first time in my early 20s. And not for the first time, but first time seriously that I was doing it of my own initiative. 36. Is that right? 36 when I was dealing with some really complicated health issues, and my Jupiter is in Cancer in the 12th house, so it deals with hidden things, subconscious stuff, addiction, oftentimes, the feminine wound, closing out major cycles, major life cycles, like multi spiritual incarnation, spiritual cycles. That's 12th house stuff, and jails, institutions, and death, and also I only heard this on Molly McCord's channel, but like complex health issues, which is like Lyme and pneumonia and all this like crazy shit that I had in 2014 is when I left. I finally left Oregon after fighting it for years, and I was back in Colorado. Then I went. It was, long story for another time, but I went back to the West Coast, but further south, where it's like a dry and hot climate, not in the Northwest, not all the way up in the Northwest, as in Southern Oregon. And Jupiter in Cancer and Cancer in the 12th house, and anything in the 12th house, like these are Piscean themes, and Neptune, Pisces, Neptune, 12th house themes. There's where these rulers are at. Can deal with like breathing problems a lot, and complex health things. So it's crazy. Each time I had a Jupiter return, these are the issues that were going on. I didn't know fucking anything about it back then. I didn't know anything about it, but hopefully, my daughter and my children aren't going to have to, and grandchildren, they're not going to have to go without all this fucking wisdom their whole life, being raised by like television and shit into a world that's fucking garbage as far as I'm concerned. I don't really want nothing to do with the old fucking Matrix world. And the more I see, the more I know about it, the more I've experienced. It's just like the appeal. I don't know where anybody finds any in the old system. But astrology is really powerful, man. Every 12-year cycle, and Jupiter is I'm hearing this from more and more astrologers, professional astrologers, people that have been doing this for years or decades. They're like, had no idea how important Jupiter was. And I read a book on it a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. About a year and a half. And I'm pretty sure it's where Chinese astrology comes from, or came from, pretty much, or for the most part aligned with it. But finding out where your Jupiter sign is, what sign it's in and what house it's in, is incredibly important, because it's a major life themes. A lot of times, if it's in something totally different from your main sun sign, and you think you're supposed to be living according to what the world tells you, or what your sun sign is, or even your sun, moon, rising, if your Jupiter is in something totally else, you're gonna be fighting upstream. You're fighting upstream, because Jupiter is luck and ease, and often what our like true soul path is. And so, episode 1, I'm gonna dig more into this, and probably I should just separate them out, because they're totally different. But I just noticed this like a week ago. I'm like, that's really interesting with the Chiron stuff. So Chiron is a 50-year cycle. It's like an asteroid, I guess. It's like a small planet. It's smaller than Pluto, I think, but I think it's significant enough that it spawned a whole class of things called centaurs in astronomy that they study now, and they're starting to use a bunch of them in astrology. And I think they're mostly in the asteroid belt. And my theory, my understanding of that is that the asteroid belt was part of, it was either a planet at one time, or the Earth was a lot larger and got hit, and that's the remnants of it in between the inner and the outer planets. There's a lot of water. There's so much water out in the asteroid belt and on a lot of the asteroids and stuff like that. But when you look at some of the ancient mythologies, there's when they talk about the wars between the gods, a lot of times it's actually referring to planets, and there's some evidence to suggest that part of the Earth might have got hit by either a moon or another planet or something like that early on. and it used to be called Tiamat, which is where the dragon Tiamat, where some of that came from, and the waters that covered everything, and then the waters receded, and then there was land after all this stuff. Anyway, that's all. Also for another time, dude. I can nerd out on this kind of shit for hours and hours. I can and I do. But yeah, apparently, because there's water and gold, there's gold also in a lot of those. And as far as we know, that exists primarily or exclusively on Earth within this local system. So I think the asteroid belt is the remnants of a planet or a chunk of Earth that got nailed by a moon or something like that. Our moon doesn't seem to be related to this planet. It seems to have gotten locked into gravitational orbit for some reason. So again, they say in science, it's like, oh, this and that and this and that, we figured it out. But usually what they should be saying, what is meant is like, this is our, currently this is the best information we have, and this is our best guesstimate about what that means. That's closer to true science. But humans are humans, and humans like truthiness a lot of times. I just like to call it what it is if we're not sure. But the metaphysical shit, ancient history, dude, it's so fascinating, and it's so much more important than pop culture would have you believe. So Jupiter matters, dude. Jupiter matters a lot. And Chiron, the wounded healer, is like a core. It's generally, especially if you're a wounded healer, like an empath, wounded healer, awakening humanity, it's going to be like the core theme of your life, and where you got your wounding and where your healing is going to lie. And it doesn't have to be through a person. It can be through themes of that house, of that planet, But for all of us who have Chiron in Taurus, which is a good chunk of Gen X, our foundational safety and stability got torn up in our childhood, either in our individual families or just because of culture. Because this is what was going on in the 70s and the 80s. Divorce rates went through the roof. Like, so many changes, so many radical changes in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Those things take years and decades to play out. But that Chiron wounding in Taurus and in the second house, dude, that's foundational stability and safety issues. And so wherever that, if you have Chiron in Taurus as well, right now it's leaving Aries, and so a lot of similar themes come from Aries with the body and the self, etc. But foundational stability and relationships and where we land on the earth, dude, these are huge themes that would be active for you right now, and where it lands in your house is going to affect big time how it plays out and what things you have to work on in your chart and in your life, and the easiest way to get at those and address those and heal those potentially. So yeah, I'll circle back around with some of this stuff. 1323. It's big topics. I want to start really breaking. I want to start breaking shit down a lot more and doing. I wish I would have done this 2 years ago, like God told me to, but sometimes fear gets the best of us. I'm gonna break shit down by my chart and a couple other charts that I've done recently, and I'll keep the people anonymous, obviously, the ones that aren't mine, but how I started learning how to figure all this shit out. It's powerful. It's powerful tools to have. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll be back.